wager, existential wager on accepting the absurd, the impossible. And that for me is all that belief is about. And I don't even mean only belief in the, here belief in the sense of, belief in the sense of religious belief, but even political belief and so on and so on. And I think that dangerous in the sense of, I think that all emancipatory politics is lost without this type of belief. Let's take the question of racism, for example. I claim that without this kind of article of faith, you get lost in this, okay, maybe you blacks and us whites, maybe we are the same, maybe we are not. Let's first measure our brains. What if we discover that I or you have, you know what I mean? You cannot approach it this way. You have to posit an act of belief. To give you another example, what I mean by belief, a totally different one. For example, in Germany, I often refer to this example in my books, in Germany, let's say we are in Germany 33, 34, and you debate with your friend who is anti-Semitic, you are not, and then you propose, look, we are talking about Jews in abstract, let's simply look at the Jews, let's see how they really are. I claim the moment, let's precisely transpose the debate into the terms of knowledge. I claim the moment you do this, you are lost. You miss the point. You already concede the point to anti-Semitism, because the moment you put it in the terms of how the Jews really are, the result is clear. You will discover that, okay, of course the Nazis exaggerate a little bit, Jews are not so bad, but there are many bad Jews and so on. It is true. I mean, are we aware how we always make fun of the Nazis, of blah blah, but are we aware, and this is for me not an argument for Nazism, how many of their statements were true? For example, when they claimed that 80% of lawyers in Berlin are Jews, 60% of journalists are Jews. Jews have a crucial influence. I'm very sorry, but this was true, no? And my point is precisely, but in no way it justifies you know what I mean? The moment you translate this fundamental, how should I call it, ethical religious question into questions of knowledge, you are lost. The tragic example here for me is Francis Fukuyama's, it's no longer the last book, that on what's the title, Freedom something, on biogenetics and the dangers of biogenetics, where he tries to ground human dignity directly in our knowledge about human nature. And the result for me is crazy. He claims that his argument against biogenetic interventions is that our experience as free agents and so on is only possible with a certain genome biological structure. So we shouldn't mess in it, but doesn't he see that this very reasoning undermines it? Because the moment you say that our human dignity is based in certain genetic structure, you already devalue it. I mean, what kind of dignity is this if it's just a matter of, you know, that's the problem for me. Or even, for example, here I have a fundamental problem with some religious people, with Catholics, especially who are so opposed to, and I would provoke you, do you have an answer to this? Namely, they are on the one hand opposed to biogenetic interventions, blah, 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 and their argument is usually because man is not just an object, biological mechanism who can be manipulated, man has an immortal soul, blah, blah, blah. My answer is, reply to this reaction is totally common sense one. Wait a minute, if man has an immortal soul, then why prohibit biogenetic intervention? We only mess with the body there, no? You know what I mean? It's very strange logic. The logic is, man has an immortal soul, which cannot be affected by biogenetic experiments, so let's not do the experiments. What's the point? The only intelligent answer that the priest gave me is the radio theory answer. It's really intelligent. The idea is that our body to our soul, it's like the radio to the program that you hear. It's true that the program is not in the radio. But to hear the program, the radio must be properly tuned. You know what I mean? So if we do biogenetic manipulations, we may put the radio out of tune so that we will no longer get the message, and so on and so on. Okay, I don't find this answer satisfactory, but it gets problematic here. So again, what I'm saying, but it is a serious question, I agree with you. The question for me is, and here I see a big failure with Habermas and some others who oppose biogenetics, but the way I think they oppose it is that they simply avoid the problem. Their logic is the following one. Our human identity is based on certain notions of autonomy, freedom, responsibility, and so on. If we do biogenetic manipulations, we undermine this very but for me, the question is not simple as that, because the moment we can do this, we already accept that basically we are not autonomous, free, and the true dilemma is then, do we accept the fact that we are not free, or do we ignore it in order to maintain the illusion that we are free? For example, when people say it's not fair to enhance your abilities with some drugs and so on, that in this way you cheat. Like if you do an exam, it's not fair to, whatever. But the true tragedy for me is that the moment you accept that you can change your psychic characteristics with a drug, this means, even if you don't do it, that you already accept that your psychic characteristics are, if they are something that can be manipulated with chemical elements, it means they are basically just an effect of some other chemical combination there. So you already accept it. So for me, this is for me a true problem of biogenetics and so on. To put it in pathetic terms, how to save freedom? Can freedom be saved? I think it can be, and to make a little bit of propaganda, in a book of mine which will appear called The Parallax View, it may surprise some of you, I have 200 pages of detailed dialogue, but it's a one-sided dialogue. They will probably ignore it with Dennett and all of them. I go in detail into, I have a great appreciation of today's brain sciences. I'm not that arrogant European who dismiss them in this easy, transcendental way. They are naive reductionists. I think there are wonderful things happening in them. But I think that sorry, do you want to ask? I will stop, sorry.
We have time for only one last and very brief question, okay? There are lots of people who want to speak, but we really have to stop because a lot of people have to go. So let's have one quick question.
Professor Zizek, this is a question with reference to the documentary that several of us viewed last week.
Oh my God. I haven't seen it. It's too traumatic for me, yeah? You mean that Dead of Night? No.
Being there.
Yeah.
I was wondering if you might say a few words as to why that movie seems...
The being there.
Yeah, being there.
No, first, you mean, but I don't get it. You mean it was on the list? Where did I select that movie?
As one of your favorites.
Sorry? Yeah. No, but don't put too much into that. I selected it because my wife wanted to see it. So it's not, this is an example of what Lacan means desire is the desire of the other, no? But more seriously, the reason I like the movie is nonetheless that it's clearly a movie about, you saw the movie, I hope, about transference, no? A guy, you remember, a total idiot who was all the time in that house, gardener and so on, and he's misperceived as a wise guy, at the end even considered to become the president. And so how you find yourself at the right place, and this pure idea of it's not what you really are, this is what is called transference. But the reason I admire the movie is that it resisted a certain temptation. The temptation would have been to paint the character played by Peter Sellers, Chancy Gardner or what, to paint him as a guy who is just an ordinary, warm human being. He remains monstrous to the end. I like this in the movie, that it's not the cheap Hollywood, an ordinary guy who's good. It's this monstrosity which is maintained to the end. On the other hand, No, I was looking for different films there, which unfortunately they didn't have. So there are much darker secrets there.
Ladies and gentlemen, join me in thanking Professor Zizek and Professor Rush.
Good job, man. Just flowing all the time.
Good. That's how you get heart palpitations. Formula.
You got a lot to say. You got a whole lot to say.